Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dinks with Kings. Before we get into tonight's episode, I want to remind all you people that we are in fact on that social media. So reach out, say hey to us at Dinks with Kings on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I am your host, John, and with me as always, the toughest titties in town, Mr. Shep.
I knew it. And good evening.
And the softest, most luscious pair of titties I've ever seen in my life, Miss Rebecca.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry, I know it was a little on the nose tonight with our introductions, but I like to be abreast of the subject.
Oh my god! No.
We're not. We haven't started yet, so don't try to milk it too hard.
Oh fucking guys!
Is it sad that the hardest work we do on this podcast is the intro?
I know.
That's
trying to come up with
that's
this
your
song.
hard work. We just off the cuff our stuff here, bud.
Off the cuff. Yes, we nip it in the bud.
We do nip it in the bud.
That's a bit of a stretch. All right, so
Well,
tonight,
not leaving any marks though.
Tonight we're gonna nibble a little bit. We're gonna suckle on the teat of information, and we're gonna talk about
And he's still
adult
going.
lactation fetish, or in layman's terms, breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Or the freshest milk your coffee can get. Mm-hmm.
So, well, let's cover the bases first. Has anyone here ever lactated? Show of hands.
I mean, I guess since I'm the only female that's had kids, that would be
That's
me.
not true. Men can lactate. We're just not prone to lactate. We can.
Yeah, usually
If
due
you have
to
nipples-
a hormonal imbalance. Does that sometimes happen to males? Yes.
Oh.
If you have nipples, you can milk it. I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
Oh god.
That's a
All right, hello,
meet the
fuckers.
parents
Meet the fuck.
reference.
Meet the fuckers,
Meet the
right?
fuckers.
He's really
I
being a
think so.
fucker, all right.
And, you know,
Mhm.
it's a De Niro movie, so it's great.
Yes, but yes,
Anyway.
I have lactated and breastfed both my children.
All right, yeah. My partner, when we had our kids, breastfed the first one, and then had to pump for the second one, and I had to do the feedings because she was like, my second one was like, I just don't want to touch titties. She did not have this discretion of wanting to breastfeed, but there are actually many adults out there, both men and women, who enjoy adult breastfeeding, which I never thought about, and until I started doing research.
Oh yeah.
There's
As you do.
there's a lot to talk about. There's so much to talk about tonight. Let's start randomly in a place. Let's talk about how somebody lactates and why they lactate in the first place. So we're going to do a little biology lesson. When a female of any mammal species becomes impregnated, they start to produce this thing called milk. Milk is a white liquid that is filled with proteins, fats, and other healthy bacterium. Everybody caught up? We now know how.
Yeah.
Okay, we knew the process
Yeah.
now. Did I do a good? Did I mansplain it? Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say you mansplained lactating real well. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, but okay. So diving into it, this is a very I want to say the first. Let's talk about the instinctual bonds to it. Breasts have two purposes in life: for sexual gratification and nourishment. And this is taking the two and kind of blending them together. Of course, typically why people are attracted to breast is a very instinctual thing of mating. Big breast means you can feed babies. You have lots of milks. You feed the babies. Which is kind of where, like, you know, people with larger breasts, where that gain notoriety. It's in our DNA. It's in our coding. I mean, feeling to chip in, person with breasts.
I'm like nothing you said is wrong. I mean, I have breasts. A lot of people find comfort in just holding them. Like, not even just playing with them. They just find that comfort You're just holding them.
It is actually, believe it or not, when you touch breast, if you are attracted to breast, one of the reasons you are is because it releases a pheromone that calms you. It doesn't just arouse you; it actually centers your brain. It is essentially the greatest stress ball God ever created.
Aww, I got 2 of them. Mine are great.
Do you ever get stressed and just put your hands on your breast and feel better?
I do actually. I do. I'm like, actually, you know what's funny? It's funny you say that. It's like when some of my friends are stressed out, I'm like, do you want to touch my boobs? Like, that's literally what I do. That is like, that's just my instinct. It's like, do you want to touch my boobs? Here, you can touch my boobs. Here you go.
Oh, absolutely. And with this lactation fetish, I mean, it's just emphasized. It's more in the center of connecting to like instinctual roots of nourishment and care. Because, you know, in everybody's brain, a woman who breastfeeds loves their baby. So if I'm being breastfed, I am truly loved. I am nurtured. I am taken care of. I feel safe. And that's
And then if
because
someone is feeding you with their breast, is that tough love?
well, I mean, that's a whole different kink.
Okay.
Well, yes, I as somebody who has nursed, a child, and they find like there's this whole reason that a lot of times when you're nursing children, they fall asleep. They find that comfort. It's that smell. It's the feel. It's everything. Like, who doesn't like to snuggle in a pair of good titties? Like,
Mm-hmm. But do you ever wonder why male nipples are not considered sexual, but females are? Do you think it's just a gender biased, us being the prudes that we are, decided to censor the female nips?
I think a little bit of everything. I think it's a little.
Oh, it is a little bit of everything. But male nipples are typically not sexualized because they serve no purpose. In our
they're
brains.
the appendix. They're the appendix.
They are the appendix. We have nipples because we are in fact mammals, but because we don't, male nipples serve no purpose in our brains, we immediately write it out. Like, this is something that's take back all the oppressed religious guilt and all the prudeness and all the modesty out in the world. Our brains just don't see male nipples as attractive. Like, there's no chemical. I mean, I'm not saying no one enjoys the sight of them. I'm just saying, as a species, we are it out. Just like you can't see your nose, even though your nose is visible to your eyes.
So now John's just not talking for both of us. He's talking for our entire species.
No, that's smart information though. I like
yes,
learning
yes,
stuff like that. I do. I like learning stuff like that. So I'm learning.
I have read a lot about nipples in the past week. But they are female nipples are highly erogenous zones. I don't think I have to tell anybody here that. And if I am telling you and this is news to you, well, congratulations, you're about to learn a lot of fun stuff. Did you know that a lot of times, in fact, a majority of the times, when you become pregnant, when you start developing milk, your brain disconnects the sexuality from your nipples. They no longer turn you on if they're touched. I didn't say that's 100% of the case.
I was like, I guess I'm the exception because that did not happen. That didn't happen.
Oh, I don't mean permanently. Oh, so yeah, a lot of women
at any point.
Disconnects. And this is, and like I said, quote me on this. This is stuff that I picked up from like Wikipedia page and like other medical journals and whatnot. And the reason they disconnect from it because they don't want to imprint that on themselves. If that makes sense. It's like, the minute you have kids, where their mouth is going to be. You don't want your brain will kind of save you that trauma a little bit of connecting those two. Because I mean, who wants to be popping wood while there's an infant on your boob? And I mean lady wood.
Oh, I was like, I would have to say that's 50% true when I started like breastfeeding my kids. I mean, but I don't think it ever completely shut off. I don't, because there were plenty of times while I was breastfeeding my children that I had my breast played with in the bedroom and loved every second of it. So
okay, I said, this, I don't know how true this is. My nipples don't do that. My nipples are no spots year round, regardless.
I know, because that's your no zone.
Or
my no zone.
For many that was correct, and then for some of the others where that sensitivity didn't go away, it furthered their interest in the fetish itself and continuing to lactate and so on and so forth.
Some women do continue to lactate. Did you know also, fun fact, arousal can cause lactation of the nipples? Being aroused.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, being aroused can trigger lactation. Only if you're lactating at the time.
Well, that I knew. That if you're lactating at the time, then yes, that I knew. That and like anytime you hear even not your infant crying, like a lot of things trigger lactation. Like trust me, I went through a lot of shirts. I think that's crazy
that your brain can just turn it on. Like there's a faucet.
A lot of shirts. I'm like, God damn it.
So let's get into some of the kinks that follow this thing. Let's start very basic, very at the visual of seeing a woman lactate. Not breastfed, just lactate in general. Creating milk out of, like we just talked about, you start leaking.
The visual of mother's milk.
That is a paraphilia that many people have, and they get sexual arousal from seeing that. And like this is we're gonna dive deeper into the whys of that in other topics. But yeah, just the visual setting. They don't necessarily want to breastfeed themselves. They don't want to watch you breastfeed. They just, the sight of you lactating turns them on. You particularly, Rebecca. Just you. Oh. The Wikipedia actually says the sight of Rebecca lactating. It's a paraphilia.
Actually, we're talking about this lactation, and my nipples are like feeling all funky. like I'm getting like this whole like
trauma response. No.
Trauma response.
Yep. And then anyway. Next we're going to go into adult nursing, which is more common than I actually imagined. And not just sexually. There are places where you can go for adult nursing and relationships that build around adult nursing that adults still nurse. It is both calming, soothing, and meditative. And a lot of people consider it to be a deeper connection than anything else you could have, because typically what happens during breastfeeding when you have a child is bonding and pairing. And that's how they see it. That's how they build these relationships. So that kind of fascinated me. And I was like, I never thought about doing that as an adult. Like going in and just being like, hey, we're getting to know each other. Can I suck on your boob? Let's have that Vulcan mind meld with your titty melt.
I mean, I can see that with the meditation too. Because, normal meditation, you start with It's one step away from num num. Num
num num num num num num.
Yes, chef.
And of course, we did an episode on cows. We've all talked about the milking table, and we've all seen the milking table. Of course, this is actually a very popular kink in the cow community between pumping, milking, watching a woman with a breast pump or milking apparatus. And I say apparatus because...
Yeah.
I just thought that word apparatus.
I remember when I was pumping, and I would sit there and it was like, like I felt like a cow, and so I would sit there and I would moo. I would moo from the bed. I'd just be like, moo. And so everybody knew I was pumping because I would moo. Who knew I was actually like, like I was serving the Hugh Cow community. Like I had no idea.
And this is how I knew this wasn't my kink, because I remember in the days when my ex-partner, when she was pumping and we were doing, like I was doing the feeding, she'd have to pump while I did the feeding. And I'd come in there and she would just be sprawled out in the bed, pumps hooked up, looking absolutely exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted. And she is just sitting there eating peanut M&Ms. Just in absolute misery. And I'm
pumping out milk
misery.
chocolate? I mean...
And at no point in time did either one of us look at each other and make those eyes go, this is erotic.
Yeah, not while I was pumping, because it was hard for me. Like I pumping is not, it was difficult for me. So that's why I had to moo. I was like, moo, just to keep my mind off of the fact that like I felt like I was getting shredded. So it's fine.
And I'm actually going to steal a phrase from the Wikipedia page because I just love it so much and I want to say it out loud. Lactation prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
What? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
The act of breastfeeding for adults that pay for it and get aroused by the thought of paying to breastfeed, to nurse.
You know what? I'm here for it. If you got it.
And this is very.
I can think of worse things.
Very
to prostitute out.
Particular. It actually, there was a report in 2003 that there was an entire Chinese brothel dedicated to nursing.
Okay. Women do sell their breast milk.
They
often.
do. We did.
Yeah. So like
my ex pumped way more than she'd ever need.
Yeah, like and like people sell their breast milk. So I don't see how this is that far off. You know what I mean?
Not.
Like it's not. And so like people think about that and their initial reaction is, "What?" But I'm like, "No. That is like a very natural thing. Like if you've got this thing and it's and for most women it's a limited supply, at some point you're going to, dry out literally. Like so use it to make some Benjamins. Like do your thing. Yeah. Like
absolutely,
I'm here for it. And if somebody's getting enjoyment out of it and loving it, then do you boo. Pop out a boo.
I absolutely love it. I just love the phrase lactation prostitution.
Yeah, so instead of having like glory holes, did they have like memory holes or
memory holes?
I mean,
I wonder if they have like a tray of cookies
stalls,
you can buy.
Maybe milking stalls, perhaps. Maybe.
Yeah.
Milking stalls. Jesus Christ. No, that's what those breastfeeding pods are for.
I think we're heading back into UCal territory.
Okay.
And then of course we can't forget something we've also covered when we talked about littles, infantilism. The arousal, we talked about this in the diaper fetish as well too, when you go back to infantilism, being nurtured, being taken care of mommy, and being breastfed. In fact, a lot of people with this fetish and infantilism, they play out the whole role play. And this is actually very popular. Breastfeeding is very popular in infantilism fetish. So we can't not forget that. And it all stems back to our basic genetic coding of I am the most happiest, I am the most loved, I am the most well taken care of while breastfeeding. This is actually very popular in lesbian communities as well, lesbian couples. They will breastfeed among each other to show a sign of pairing and connection. I read a whole article on that. And I was like, oh, that's very intimate.
That is very
That's next level recycling there.
I was about to say, if there are two lactating women and they feed upon each other,
right?
Does it create an infinite loop of milk?
I mean, minus the fact of needing to add more water to the mix.
The mix, yeah.
To the cycle occasionally, so there's no dry out. But yeah.
Is there a point? Is it just like multi-level filtering?
that
Let's think about the
centipede that was
science.
breast?
The higher quality vodka is the one that is filtered and processed the most. Is that true with breast milk? If
Oh my god!
I am a lady and Shep is a lady, and Shep drinks my breast milk, and then I return drink his breast milk, and we keep cycling it, do we eventually get the purest, most breast milk?
Instead of milk, it turns into like cream.
Oh.
Is that how we get breast cheese?
No,
Oh
Nope.
my
Nope.
god!
Took it far.
That would be a little
no,
too rough.
No,
That's a little-
no. First off, and two things that hetero men think about when they think two lesbians about milking, like lactating on each other.
I do not think about that. I read the article, and then my podcast brain went, well, could we create an infinite
fair.
loop?
Yeah, I mean, I bet you could. I bet you could.
As long as you hydrate, yes.
As long as you hydrate.
Oh.
So
Thank
I've
you
talked
for
a
that,
lot about
though.
breastfeeding.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I want you to, next time you see the two lesbian couples with large breasts, I want you to think that. I want you to go,
Oh,
do they have the
okay, I will.
purest breast milk in the world?
do you have pure breast milk? I need to know
Pure breast milk.
for science.
So what are your thoughts on breastfeeding? I've talked a whole lot so far. I feel like I'm dominating this booby talk.
Well, you have a lot of information. Like I just
I
have
do.
experience. Like I mean, I remember breastfeeding my children, and it wasn't necessarily easy for me, especially for my first one. But the struggles that go with it. But I can totally see how people could have that as a fetish. I think if I have sensitive nipples, and really people could suck on my tits all day long, and I'd be like completely happy with it. So I remember I remember it like having sex while I was lactating and being very nervous about that at first, and it's an experience. It's definitely very different. Your breast play is very different when you're lactating versus when you're not, and the sensations are different. So the sensations of like somebody sucking on your nipples when you're lactating versus somebody sucking on your nipples when you're not lactating, the sensations and that you get from that is it's different. So I had both. I like both of them, so I'm good with both.
You like both nipples?
Well, I like,
You don't have a favorite?
I didn't mind when they sucked on my nipples when I was lactating. I don't mind when they're not. So
Did you ever accidentally get a mouthful of milk?
it was never accidental.
There was no accidental.
There was
I like how you phrased that. Right there. All right. Fun fact of history: in 1999, approximately they did a study. A study conducted in 1999. Approximately 33 to 50% of mothers found breastfeeding erotic, and among about 25% of them felt very guilty about this, which I don't believe anybody should, because a lot of times it is just hardwired.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean. This is definitely something that's not like male driven. Men don't just look at boobies and go, "Oh, I want boobies." This is actually as equally female driven as well.
Oh yeah.
The erotic.
And and the erotic part of it is because you're so sensitive in that area. You are sensitive in like all of the nerve endings. It's a great sensation. So I can see why women find it erotic when they're lactating or breastfeeding. Like
Erotic.
I absolutely can. Erotic.
So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of. This is one of those fetishes that I'm like, I don't particularly enjoy myself because I don't make that connection. I've tried breast milk, not a fan.
Yeah.
He prefers the nut
Yeah.
milk.
Nut milk.
I'm not. No, not even so much nut milk. I'm not an almond milk now. You know what? I'm a cow. Not
I didn't say
cow,
which
but a
nut.
cow.
I just said nut milk.
Oh yeah, we did. But no, I did try breast milk. Because like I said, when we were pumping, we had spare, and you have that moment where you're like,
Have that moment where I'm out of cream from my coffee. Yeah.
There are coffee shops that used to you could just go like
Yeah.
that.
It is actually very common to use breast milk and drink breast milk. People do it. I do not enjoy the taste. Maybe it was just my partner's breast milk that I wasn't a fan of. I don't know if different breasts taste differently. I haven't tried a sampling of breast milk.
You didn't have a flight
So
of
I haven't-
breast milk. You didn't have
Yeah,
a
I haven't
flight.
had a flight of breast milk where they were like, try this one. Oh, this is of Asian descent. Here we go.
Okay.
Irish Catholic.
Here's a vegetarian. Here's one that is pescatarian.
Hey, this is a vegan-based breast milk.
It's
And
a
I'm like,
little nutty.
Can milk be? Can breast milk be vegan? Well, they were vegan.
Oh, I guess it can. Is breast milk
Can.
considered vegan?
I don't think so. Milk is milk. Vegan is only plant-based. We gotta Google something real quick.
No, I was like, no, I couldn't. No, I have to know. I have to know. Is breast milk considered vegan?
Is
Oh.
breast milk vegan? Okay, here we go. Breast milk is indeed vegan and the perfect food to nourish your newborn future animal rights activist. Okay, so they consider
breast milk can
vegan.
be vegan. Nice. Yeah.
All right, there we go.
For all of those who want to know and need to know, breast milk can be
Shep,
vegan.
I know you. Yep, Shep, I know you walked away. I just wanted you to learn. We just learned breast milk is indeed vegan. So
I know.
Mhm.
our vegan listeners out there, fret not. You're in the clear. Drink that booby milk.
That titty tea.
That titty.
That Jesus juice, as some call it.
Jesus. No, that's something different.
Jesus juice. Yeah, I think Jesus juice is something much different. Yeah, I mean, getting into like the real crux of this has been very fascinating. Like I can see absolutely the roots of this as being instinctual. It could also be trauma based,
Rooted close to the chest.
given the fact that you had mother issues and you're trying to redevelop that. A lot of people use breastfeeding in psychiatry as a way to reset and reprogram childhood traumas. I don't think it's a popular used one, but I have read some
think not.
reports.
Okay.
It's regression. Like I said, even with the
Yes.
littles fetish, we're talking about a very regressive
They have
thing.
the wrong therapist.
And typically, when talking to littles, it is a very regressive thing to help work out trauma. So I could absolutely see how this would, just be one more step and one more dive delve into dealing with childhood trauma and kind of replacing bad experiences with good experiences. Or maybe you had a great experience and want to relive it. Maybe instinctually some of your best memories were infantilism. When you were a child, you felt safe. Your body became addicted and remembered how close you felt, how intimate you felt with, the person breastfeeding you at the time.
Regressing to those
And not saying
good
you have
times
a
and
mommy
good
fetish.
memories. Memories.
Such good memories.
Oh my
Memories. Such sweet memories.
I used to squeeze them all so good. Oh, my sweet
But that being said-
memories.
That's about all the breasts we can handle for today.
I think
Oh, so I'll put mine away. Okay, cool. That's fine.
Go ahead and zip those bad boys back up. I appreciate all that you've done.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I thought it was really awesome that the entire time we recorded this podcast that you had your breast out on display. I thought
I
was
was just
very solidarity.
Trying to, inspire you.
keeping us on our
abreast of all of our good times. Yes.
all of our good
Breast of our-
times.
Oh.
All right. So you guys about ready for the wheel?
I'm ready. I'm here for it. Give it to me, John. Give me the wheel.
Oh, we're spinning it.
Spin it, spin it, spin it. Oh yeah. Oh God.
All right. Well,
it's always that face. It's that face. It's that one.
We've had a good taste of tonight. And like I said, I want to make sure we clean up this entire podcast because I don't want it to create a smell or any type of odor or anything that may trigger a memory where we have this kind of funk in the air. But next week we are talking about smells and aromatophilia, or I don't know if that's the official word for it, but we're talking about aromas. Yeah.
Oh,
arousal.
Okay.
Smells.
Okay. All right.
It's gonna be a
I
very
was
smelly
like,
one.
you were talking funk, and I was like, oh.
We are going to cover. We're going to cover the whole spectrum of smells between freshly cut grass. We've talked about many of these before, like freshly cut grass being a trigger for arousal, feet, the smell of feet being an arousal. We're going to talk about
he spent so much time cutting his grass.
Oh yes, in my bare feet. So we're gonna talk about the science behind arousal and aroma. And that's it. Well, all right. I have been your host. I'm excited too. I am your host, John Undera, and with me, as always, someone who always smells like daisies, Mr. Shep.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Till next time.
And a woman whose scent can only be described as heavenly.
Oh.
It's Rebecca.
Good evening, everyone.
Heavenly scent.
Good night.